Rivers. Moving bodies of water that cover tens, hundreds, and sometimes even thousands of miles. Rivers are one of nature's many paintbrushes, carving, cutting, and weaving through landscapes. They follow the path of least resistance, yet this path is also powerful enough to carve through even sheer rock. Rivers are the canary in a coal mine for humanity. Where rivers flow, humans follow. Thousands of years ago, humans laid their first roots of civilization next to rivers. Rivers gave birth to humanity as we know it.
We like to think that now, here in the modern day, we're far removed from the needs and necessities of ancient humans.
Yet, in the modern day, I live just a short throw away from a river. My neighborhood sits tucked between the two forks of the San Gabriel. From my back porch, I can see the valley that the San Gabriel has followed and cut through the hill country on its way towards the Gulf of Mexico. This river, small and understated in nature, has carved its own path through the often harsh Central Texas landscape. But it's also carved its own story, a story, I realized, I didn't know.
My home, my neighborhood, and to some extent my very being are owed to this river. Yet I walk past it every day without giving it much thought. So it's here where the genesis of this story and this video is born. This is my attempt at telling the story of the San Gabriel River.
To tell the story of a river, one must start where the river itself starts, its source. Deep in the hill country of Burnett County, rain meets the rocky limestone surface and slowly finds its way underground into the vast aquifer system. The ground beneath Burnett County is like a giant sponge. Numerous caves and crevices allow the water to seep into the vast underground network of streams and pools. At low points of the geography, the water rises back to the surface, forming springs. These springs trickle together to eventually form the north and south fork of the San Gabriel, as well as several other creeks and smaller forks that merge into the two larger tributaries. These creeks and tributaries begin their journey eastward through some of the harshest terrain they will encounter. Solid granite and limestone combined with scorching sun make the land here less than forgiving.
Like many rivers, the San Gabriel has had a gravitational pull towards humans. For almost 10,000 years in perpetuity, humans have flocked to the river and its valley.
Dotted around Lake Georgetown, a reservoir along the river, sit multiple prehistoric sites, most of which are now lost to time.
Hunter-gatherers followed their large mammalian food sources, namely mammoth and bison, to this fertile river land. They set up multiple camps next to crossings and springs.
Over the next 7,000 years, these people maintained a presence around the river. Its natural low points creating easy passageways, and its high terraces formed by the shifting rock and earth creating natural vantage points.
Multiple prehistoric sites existed around the river and the lake. Unfortunately, most have been destroyed by construction or treasure hunters seeking arrowheads and other collectibles.
These nameless people have been lost to time, their identities unknown. Any last realistic chance of their identification or discovery was wiped away by the literal floodwaters from the formation of the dam and subsequent lake it birthed.
The ground I walk here today was once home to lost peoples who, like me, decided to call this place home. And although our decisions to settle here likely differ, we're both byproducts of the same gravitational pull.
That gravitational pull of the river extends beyond just humans. Just off the highway, the river cuts deep into the limestone, creating a large gully.
And here we can find these.
Around 100 million years ago, the dinosaurs too found themselves drawn to the river. The tracks of an Acrocanthosaurus and others have been etched into this river bottom for millennia. Rivers are a natural obstacle. Something can appear to be 100 feet away, yet in actuality require 2 miles of trekking to reach.
As humans tend to do, we innovate and invent, and we find ways to trivialize such things as river crossings.
The story of the San Gabriel could even be considered to be a story of bridges. Numerous bridges of all kinds dot the length of the river, from railroad trestle bridges, historic iron truss bridges, and some that have not stood the test of time.
This particular bridge is a short distance from both the dinosaur tracks and also the much more modern bridges of US Highway 183.
This bridge, its name we were unable to find, was likely part of the original Burnett Highway that ran from Austin all the way to Burnett, Texas. Information on this bridge, or what's left of it, was hard to come by. Its neglected state contrasting sharply with the newer, nicer, and more modern equivalents a stone's throw away on US Highway 183. Using historical aerial survey imagery from the USGS, we were able to determine that at some point between 1954 and 1964, the bridge met its demise, likely a victim of flooding common to many central Texas rivers.
Just east of Georgetown sits Menken's Crossing. Menken's Crossing was constructed in 1914 on a bed of limestone that was a popular crossing point for the river long before the bridge's construction.
This is just one of the numerous concrete bridges that hover just above the river's surface. Near Liberty Hill, a railroad trestle bridge spans the large river channel cut underneath. Still in use to this day, this bridge is of particular historical importance as part of the rail line that helped ferry granite from Marble Falls, Texas to Austin for the construction of the Capitol building.
West of Circleville, on County Road 366, sits Roe Valley Bridge, a metal truss bridge. It sits high above the San Gabriel, in stark contrast to its concrete brethren.
Since abandoned and now bypassed by a more traditional bridge, its history has become long forgotten. What we do know is that it appeared in its first form around 1909, but after a flood in 1921 wiped much of the bridge away, it was rebuilt and found its current form in 1930.
Lastly, another truss bridge, the Worley Bridge, crosses over the San Gabriel on County Road 456 just north of Rockdale, Texas, and uniquely is still in use by vehicles to this day.
As rivers bring life and abundance to humanity, they also bring death and destruction. Central Texas is extremely prone to flash flooding. The rivers here can rise tens of feet in a matter of minutes, rapidly turning from a shallow stream into a raging torrent. Water and the state of Texas have a complicated relationship. Mother Nature seemingly determined to punish the state for its past and current transgressions with its Sisyphean push and pull of too much water or not enough, but never in between.
But as with bridges, humans always find a way to innovate and adapt.
Two major dams were constructed along the San Gabriel, the first of which is in Georgetown, Texas. Lake Georgetown was born in 1980 from the efforts of governmental bodies and their efforts to fight the eternal war of flood and drought. It impounds the North Fork of the San Gabriel just west of where it meets the South Fork. This reservoir is a crucial source of drinking water for the northern suburbs of Austin, in addition to its stalwart defense against flash flooding. While there are many hidden gems of Lake Georgetown, its crown jewel is Crockett Gardens, a natural spring that flows over the side of a cliff and slowly cascades down into the lake. Early European settlers were enamored by the springs, woodlands, and charm of the specific area, but many of its more recent inhabitants are none the wiser to even its existence. From Lake Georgetown, the North Fork meets the South Fork, becoming whole and heading eastward past the city of Georgetown. No longer confined to the rocky limestone-rich ground of the hill country, the river continues to snake eastward through the Blackland Prairie to Granger.
Granger Lake was also formed via a dam. Built in conjunction with Lake Georgetown in 1980, the reservoir and dam function the same: provide drinking water and fight flooding.
Granger Lake is home to over 10,000 acres of wildlife management area land. This lake acts as a haven for numerous Blackland Prairie species.
If we want to ask the story of a river, we should probably learn where it got its name from. And the answer to that question lies in the farmland east of Granger.
Just northwest of Rockdale, the former site of 3 lost Spanish missions and Presidio hide underneath a fertile farmland and rolling meadows. The modern-day San Gabriel was originally called the San Javier River by the Spanish.
During the 1740s, the Spanish established 3 separate missions in the region after signing a peace treaty with the local Apache.
These missions were under the protection of the Mission Nuestra Señora de la Candelaria. Over time, these missions in Presidio were abandoned due to both the logistical reasons but also political infighting amongst the Spanish colonial leadership, and were ultimately relocated to San Marcos and San Saba, Texas.
Their legacy, however, remains, as when Stephen F. Austin began charting maps of the region, he wrote San Gabriel instead of San Javier, hence the eventual name San Gabriel.
East of these long-lost sites, the river continues its final journey. It snakes and weaves a little more before merging with the Little River, which, a few miles later, ultimately merges into the Brazos. It's here where we meet the terminus of this river and also this story. As my journey to learn more about this river story continued, I couldn't help but begin to feel lost amongst the scale and magnitude of what I was uncovering. Although the San Gabriel is a relatively small and tame river, its temporal weight began to set upon me. I crossed this highway daily, usually within seconds, but these dinosaur tracks are a mere 200 yards away, and that tells us that we're just following as those who did before us.
Where the ancient people have settled, I have settled. And where the dinosaurs saw fit to cross, I too saw fit to cross.
Millennia separate us, an incomprehensible timeline to me, yet we are equally molded and beholden to the forces of the same very body of water.
So while nowadays we like to think we are above and beyond the gravitational pull of the river,
and the active and passive forces that they apply upon us. In reality, it appears, we're still very much at their mercy. And that's probably a good thing.